Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We've already talked about 3 types of phrases. We got 2 left. Right now, we're going to talk about gerund phrases. If you are looking for notes, they are on page 74 in your textbook. Let's start with some basic definitions. Remember, a gerund, just like a participle and an infinitive, is a verbal. Remember, verbals look like verbs, but they act like something else. In this case, we're talking about gerunds. A gerund looks like a verb, but it acts like a noun. Looks like a verb, but acts like a noun. That's a terrible looking box, but that's okay. A gerund phrase, just like lots of other types of phrases, starts with the gerund and often includes an object and or modifiers. The nice thing about gerunds is that gerunds always end in ing. There are no exceptions. If it does not end in ing, it is not a gerund. Now, the nice thing about gerunds is there is also a tip to figure out if you have properly identified the entire gerund phrase. And it goes like this. You can, most of the time, you can replace a gerund phrase with one of the following words. This, that, someone, or something. And the reason you can do this is because all of those words are nouns, and a gerund phrase acts like a noun. So as we go through this, we'll test out our tip to find and identify gerunds. Let us look at some examples. The first sentence reads like this. Mr. Hepworth enjoys painting his face and chasing small animals underneath a full moon. Okay, that was kind of weird. All right, here we go. First, as always, we are looking for words that end in ing. So we've got some options here. Look, here's the word painting. Okay, that's nice. We also have the word chasing. Now this first one, just like before, remember we have to include the actual gerund, and we have to check to see if we have any objects or modifiers. So we can ask ourselves, what's the thing being painted? The answer is face. That's the object. We include the word his. So the entire gerund phrase is painting his face. Now, we have multiple gerunds because we have here our conjunction and is going to connect two gerund phrases. The other one looks like this. Chasing small animals underneath a full moon. So, first we figure out what the object is. We ask ourselves, what's the thing being chased? The answer is animals. But now we also have to include modifiers. The easy one to figure out is small, because small describes animals. But we also have this thing down here, underneath a full moon. Now, you will notice underneath a full moon is a prepositional phrase, and it's describing where we are chasing. So we also need to include underneath a full moon because it is describing the word chasing. And all of this goes together to create one great big gerund. We can double check this. If we go back and think about our tip, the tip was you can remove an entire gerund phrase and replace it with this, that, someone, or something. So let's just deal with the first gerund, and we'll pretend that there's a period right there. Let's pull this out and replace it with the word something. Mr. Hepworth enjoys something. That works. I could say Mr. Hepworth enjoys that, or Mr. Hepworth enjoys this. Now, we could check the second one. I could also say Mr. Hepworth enjoys this and that. See, I can pull out both of these. The second sentence reads like this. Witnessing this spectacle can really ruin a student's perception of me. Very first thing we're going to do is look for words that end in ing. Here it is, witnessing. We ask ourselves, what is the thing being witnessed? Let's see if there are any objects. We've got the word spectacle, that's what's being witnessed. So the entire gerund phrase is witnessing this spectacle. We could double check it. I can pull this out and I can say, that can really ruin a student's perspective. See, that works because we've properly identified a gerund. The last one reads like this. But what I truly love is drinking coffee by the gallon. First thing we're going to do is look for ing words. Ing. There it is. We ask ourselves, what's being drunk? That would be the object. So coffee, we need to include that. And by the gallon, By the gallon. There we go. Just like before, I can double check it. What I truly love is this. Now, obviously, that doesn't make quite as much sense. That's why we use gerunds instead of those other words, but grammatically, it still works because we have another gerund. The last thing that you are going to be required to do after you have identified a gerund is to figure out how that particular noun phrase is acting. Now, there are several things that nouns can do, and here are the basics. The first and the easiest one is that a noun can be a subject. Subjects are usually easy to identify because 9 times out of 10 they start a sentence. I hope you all remember how to identify subjects. The next thing that a noun can do is act as a direct object. Remember, a direct object follows an action verb, and we ask ourselves, what is a thing being verbed? And when we do that, we have found our direct object. Number 3, nouns can also act as indirect objects, but to my knowledge, I don't remember any gerunds acting as indirect objects. So for now, I'm going to cross this out. If somebody wants to correct me about that, that's fine. But yeah. Gerunds, nouns, can also act as a predicate nominative. Remember, a predicate nominative follows a linking verb, and it renames the subject. The very last thing that a gerund can do, that a noun can do, is act as the object of a preposition, and we can identify objects of the prepositions because they always follow a preposition. So let's look at the sentences we talked about before. Here they are. The very first one, painting his face. Now let's just go through our list mentally. First, it's not a subject because it's not the beginning of the sentence. This, Mr. Hepworth, is the subject, but you all knew that. So the next option was to see if it's a direct object. And in order for it to be a direct object, we identify, look, here's our verb. This verb, enjoys, is an action verb. Action verb. Action. Oh my gosh, this is so slow. Action verb. And we ask ourselves, what is the thing being enjoyed? And the answer is painting his face, which means that this particular gerund phrase is acting as a direct object. And connects our other one. What else does Mr. Hepworth enjoy? He enjoys chasing small animals underneath the full moon. So this is also acting as a direct object. This bottom one, this next one should also be pretty simple. Witnessing the spectacle, 9 times out of 10, you'll notice here, it starts the sentence, and that's because this is acting as the subject of the sentence. Easy enough. The very last one, drinking coffee by the gallon. Very first thing we're going to do is identify the verb. Look, here's the verb, is a linking verb, and in this case then we've only got one option. If it follows a linking verb, it's acting as a predicate nominative. So this is a predicate nominative. That's it. It's not too hard when you have all your notes in front of you. The tricky thing about gerunds is trying to keep all of these different rules straight in your head when all of the phrases get mixed up, but that's why you wrote it down in your notes. As always, if you got questions, come and find me. I would love to explain gerunds to you again. Bye!